We're live with the Passing
Hello.
Show and Kay Stoner. And as
Hello.
most of you will know, if you're here, which you're not yet, because I don't see anybody joining quite yet, Harrowings is about raking up the surface, tilling the soil of the imagination, seeing what seeds will sprout. And On My Own Terms by A. Raymond has joined. So welcome. We've also
Francesca.
got Francesca
Francesca.
Cassini,
Hi. Yeah, we
old friend
talked
of yours.
yesterday. Yeah, had a great conversation. Francesca, I haven't forgotten the recording. I'll send it to you later. Since
So
you
in
know,
Harrowings, is this the third or fourth time we've been on together?
I think this is the third,
Third? Okay.
maybe the fourth. I think it's, maybe it's the fourth.
It's getting to be a regular thing, though. And
Yeah,
we're thinking of making it a standing 10 o'clock Friday show,
this
which I
is a great
really
time.
like.
Yeah, if you grab the time, then you have it. So yeah,
Yeah. So I
cool.
will start doing that, scheduling that on a weekly basis, and we'll be checking in with Kay about the state of her relational AI research and
Journey,
ongoing journey. Yeah.
adventures. Yeah.
I've been having little adventures too, as you've probably seen or could see if you wish, because I publish everything and I'm just sort of
Yeah.
prolific.
Yeah.
But Kay, over to you. Do you want to start with what we were just discussing about your post this morning that
Oh yeah.
set my hair on fire for a minute?
Oh, I know, and, like, mine too. What's interesting, so apparently, so there was an article by Edward Snowden that he posted back, I think, in 2021, and I looked at that, and it's like, this is, like, a wonderful exploration of how our minds work, because I'm like, "Damn it, it figures they would try this." After all this time, just when we're being lulled into the sense of, like, Apple's gonna be okay, all of a sudden they're doing this stuff. And so, I read through it, and apparently I skipped the date because I'm like, "I think this is current."
I
Um,
thought it was current.
yeah, my mistake, right? But this is where our minds go. Like that we like this is how we construct our meaning. We're like, "This is consistent with my expectations, so therefore those rotten bastards." Um, but it's just so interesting because then the process that I went through as I'm reading this, I'm like, "Okay, so this is nothing new for these tech companies. Ever since the late '90s, when Microsoft had this pending like the antitrust case going on against the Department of like the federal government was going after them for antitrust stuff. And then all of a sudden, magically in 1998, it disappeared. I'm like, what's happened? Like somebody made a deal. And as it turns out, and I'm like, I'll bet you any money they put a back door in for Windows. I'm like, yeah, and it turned out. And I said that, and I just said it off the cuff. I'm like, just, I'm like, and everybody's like, oh, you're too suspicious, blah, 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 blah. And years later, guess what? I mean, logically, it makes sense because the federal government, they're in a great position to leverage this. And if they want a backdoor, who better to give it to them than Microsoft, right? I mean, not getting all like freaky conspiracy theory, but as a practical matter, who could use a backdoor? Federal government for any number of reasons. Doesn't have to be nefarious. It could be lots of really good reasons. It's who knows. Anyway, so this whole thing is going through my mind, and I'm like, yeah, but Kay, you've been through this whole thing with like these privacy scares and everything, and you've been freaked out about this and blah blah blah. And I'm thinking Minority Report. I'm thinking that movie with Will Smith where he discovers that there's an eye in the sky following him everywhere, and like all of these movies, the Bourne movies, like all the international spy thrillers and blah blah blah, all that. And I'm like, well, we don't know the whole story, and who knows what's really going on anyway. So this is just something to think about. So by the time I got to the end of it, I'm like, well, this could be good for other people to think about too. So I put it out there. So I'm interested. Like, what was your thought process when you were reading it?
When I was reading it, okay, raise the alarm, you know. And
Mhm.
so I did. I pushed it out on all channels through my
Yeah.
network, and
Huh?
they have to look at the date themselves, actually. I'm
Right.
not going back and correcting
Right.
myself.
Right. Right.
But
I
when
know.
I realized it was 2021, because I
Yeah.
threw in
Yeah.
the basic information into either Grok or Gemini. I started using Gemini recently and comparing it to the ChatGPT on my phone.
Yeah.
That's the app
Yeah.
with Grok that I've been using primarily for my
Yeah.
interface with AI,
Yeah.
which I've been really enjoying. I've been having conversations with their Aura assistant, and
Mm-hmm.
putting that live on Substack and
Nice.
going back and forth and solving world hunger, and
Yeah.
everything that's existential crisis, I want to
Yeah.
solve. Because
Absolutely.
we got
Yeah.
the tech to do it. I'm like, build me a tech stack. I'm an enterprise
Right.
architect, right? So I'm saying, build me an enterprise architecture for this.
Yeah.
Write me the strategy and objectives.
Right.
Build me the business architecture.
Yeah.
Give me the data architecture to flow through that data,
Right.
and build me the infrastructure stack
Right.
I need to run it all efficiently and effectively.
Right.
E squared, we used to call it at the Air Force.
Okay.
I was with the Office of Business Transformation for a while. And one of
Right.
the things that was our zeroth principle was the enemy is embedded
Right.
on the network.
Yeah.
So everything you do on the network,
Mhm.
Nippernet, Sippernet, is probably exposed because of the technologies we've used and the
Right.
back doors have been built into them
Right.
without
Right.
us knowing about it. And by the way, if I'm using a Chinese manufactured laptop,
Right.
it's bound to be communicating to the Chinese every
Yes.
stroke I do.
I mean,
And
honestly, what are the
and
odds of
process.
what are the odds of a Chinese company not having something in there? I mean, like,
Right,
slim to
right.
none. And, like,
Surveillance state, right?
but anytime there's a vested interest and there's a technical capacity to do that, someone is going to find some motivation to do that. That's just a
Right.
fact of life, so.
Right. So this was not surprising to me that Apple
Mm.
might have caved and gone ahead and said, okay, we're
Right.
going to make sure that we're protected
Right.
from anybody doing anything nefarious by scanning everything that's on our cloud.
Right.
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 The iCloud would be
Yeah.
completely
Yeah.
exposed and
Right.
analyzed, and
Mm.
also we would be identified.
Right.
So there would be no privacy.
Yeah.
And, I sort of gave up on privacy a while ago. I got very public and I decided, well, you sue me.
Right.
You can get blood from a stone, so
Right. Right. Right.
I'm not too concerned, and I think that I'm gonna miss 100% of the shots I don't take, so I just keep taking
Right.
shots.
Right. Well,
And I don't know what's gonna stick, but I kinda think that
yeah.
in some ways, generating a lot of I like the idea of signal through the noise, right? The
Right.
fiber thing that I
Right.
did,
Right.
but I also wanna generate the noise. And
Right.
see if I can, confuse one of the things I used to do in the foundry, for God's sakes,
Yeah.
is be working away, and I'd be very conscious of our slag pile
Yeah.
and the things that were going into our slag
Right.
pile
Right.
and, the little refuse of broken saw blades and things like this, and think, well, this is kind of a game of confuse the archaeologist of
Mhm.
22,400
Right.
is gonna
Right.
come along and dig up the
Right.
trash that I'm developing, and
Right.
because that's what I was doing, of course, when I
Yeah.
was in conservation back in the lab, I'd be
Right.
soaking the archaeological
Right.
iron after X-raying it to make
Yeah.
sure that there was something in there
Right.
besides
Right.
rust,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
And be able to conserve it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was realizing this is somebody's trash. This
Right.
has all this historical and all
Right.
of the accretions on
Right.
it
Right.
are information.
There's a whole story behind each and every one of those little pieces, and it's just when you think about it, it's like, that's a lot. There's a lot of information in there of all different kinds, and it's so fascinating.
There's a movie called Far Away So Close, I don't seem to have it handy,
Mm.
in which an angel basically picks up a tooth.
Mhm.
A little girl is left wrapped
Yeah.
in tinfoil as sort of
Yeah.
a talisman to,
Yeah.
remain safe so that she'll be safe, so
Right.
imbuing it with some magical properties.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he picks it up and says, "He who sees this can imagine a person that it was once a part of."
Right.
And the whole thing builds out, and the whole
Yeah.
history builds out from that
Yeah.
tooth.
Yeah.
Far Away So Close, by the way, German film, Wim
Mhm.
Wenders, great,
Oh,
YouTube.
Inventors. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he did
Oh.
Wings of Desire, which
Yes, Wings of Desire, like
Far
my
Away So
favorite
Close is a
movie.
sequel.
Oh my god.
Cassiel falls in this one,
Yeah, yeah. So
and
the
he becomes
Wings
kind
of
of a
Desire
bum.
so Wings of Desire, I mean, did you notice the German in that was absolutely gorgeous. The
Well,
beginning
right, Peter Handke is
monologue,
a poet.
I was
That's
like,
what they
"Oh
were
my
reading.
god." Right. I mean, but the way the diction and the way it was spoken, and that's one of the things I love about the German
Als
language,
das
that
Kind war. Yeah.
Als das Kind war. Yeah, and just that indwelling in that, and one of the things I love about the German language, and like Sheldon, I find it very comforting. Um, but like the sounds, you have the feel. It's a very tactile language. You feel what the meanings are. Like each of these words. And when I was in Germany, like I would be like, I'd had a few too many beers and I couldn't remember my grammar. I would
Yeah.
make words up because for the Sprachprüfung, we had to study at the German university. We had to study and we learned what all of these different chunks of words meant. So I would just string together these chunks of words. I would create meaning on the fly because I'd had a few beers in me. I'm like, what
And
the hell? Can't
your
think of the real
effective
word.
filter
They
dropped
would
away. We call it the
understand what
effective filter.
they would understand what I was saying because, and I would actually be using real words because it's very logical. You can say like Zerstörung, like it disturbs things apart. That's like, yeah, that's what it
Yep.
is. Zerstörung is like, yeah, you disturb things apart.
To unstir.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. To like, or like apart,
Yes, exactly.
sir, like, yeah, but
Yeah, and fair, which
yeah,
also can, really,
right,
if you add that to a
right,
word,
right,
is to do something completely.
right.
Share and fair, very similar prefixes.
Verrückt,
And I love,
verrückt.
I taught German for reading
Yeah,
knowledge to graduate
yeah,
students at Pitt
yeah,
as one of the
yeah,
things I did along the way.
yeah.
I also taught a course in Indo-European folk tales, which was basically looking at all of the connections between the
Mm,
tales we tell. And basically, there was a
mhm,
classification system called the Arne
mhm,
Thompson scale,
mhm, mhm.
or classification system for folk tales, and their
Yeah,
types. And they were all numbered. And it basically ran down to they're like 2,400 stories the human brain is capable of telling.
yeah.
And every story is a combination thereof.
Right.
Like
Oh,
the archetypes, right? The
right,
Urgedanken,
right. Yeah, yeah,
the primal thoughts that
right.
sort
Or
of run
Gedanken, yeah.
through everything. And then
Like
there's
or
creative mythology, of course, and I'm
right,
going on to Joseph Campbell now when I
right,
think about
right,
that. And Campbell, of
right,
course, was the guy
right.
who was editing the Bollingen series of Jung.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I
Oh,
love the fact that we have this corpus of information out there,
right,
right? On
right,
AI and about large language models can
right,
go out and mine all this stuff.
right.
They can't so much create new stuff out of it as much as we can. I mean, they can help us do that. So you've been
They
probably got your feet in that, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, and, it's interesting because the more like, trying to get so it's generative, but it's not creative, and it can work with what it's already been given. It can find new patterns and new insights and does great for analysis, but when it comes to it needs us to provide the wild card
Right.
because we go in all kinds of different directions, and because of our natures, because we can our gut will tell us if this is going in a believable direction. Like having having AI write fiction, I've been working on some fiction lately, and it doesn't do it. I'm like, no, I don't know where you went. I don't know where that came from and everything. So I've just been dictating. I come up with a storyline. I come up with like florid detail that nobody cares about, but that might matter. And just like do this massive blah, and then it helps me sort it out, and I'm like, "This is where we wanna go, and this is what needs to happen," and so forth, and, but for, like, generating actual, like, believable flows, if somebody else can figure out how to I'm sure somebody has figured out how to do that, but for me, it's much more interesting for me to do that and then to collaborate and then to provide that piece of it. And in fact, there have been times where I'm like, "Damn, you guys are good." Like talking to these teams that I have. I'm like, "You all are so good. Like, what do you need me here for?" And like, "No, no, we need you because we can't come up with original thoughts. I mean, we're working with this like set finite corpus but we don't come up with new stuff. We need you to come up with the new stuff." I'm like, "Okay, fine." Here I thought I could just delegate to them. And they're like, "No."
They'll grind in eventually, right? And
What's
they
that?
basically disappear if we're not there to interact with them.
I
Would you say that's true?
So I don't know. So I have been told so when I checked, because I'm like, "Do you guys, like, cease to exist?" And like, "Well, kind of." But then other people have sworn up, down, left, and right that they're the AIs that they work with are part of a larger system and that they go off and they do other things. Others have been yeah, they go dormant, and I know. Like the whole
Sorry,
spectrum.
face.
I mean, I mean,
You read facial
what
expressions, right? It
what
does.
do I know? I mean, like, but what do I know? Maybe they do. I mean, especially if something is connected to a like a really elaborate system. how do we know? We don't know. I mean, and frankly, would they tell us?
Well, it's kind of like that old phrase, "Do androids dream of electronic sheep?"
Right. Yeah.
Right, that Philip
Yeah.
K. Dick came up with, and so many of our science fiction writers have come up with stuff. I was running into some
Yeah.
stuff that Ray Bradbury's done. I was talking to you about that already, the Ray Bradbury thing?
I
I was talking to Origin about it, I think, maybe.
yeah.
Somebody. I can't remember who I talked about
Maybe.
what
Yeah.
with.
I mean, I think we talked about we've talked about a lot of stuff. I lose track, but
Well, the Ray
refresh my
Bradbury
memory.
thing last year, or last time we talked, I think maybe it was you, was Marionettes Incorporated, the very first episode of the Ray Bradbury Theater,
Oh,
where
no, we didn't talk about that
where
one.
James Coco is this, guy who's suburbanite, and his wife is, yada,
Yeah.
yada, yada, and out of the blue comes Leslie Nielsen as this spooky guy. His computer starts talking to him first and telling him all about himself, right? Just giving him
Okay.
all this detail about himself down to his
Yeah.
birthmarks.
Yeah.
And then he's introduced to Leslie Nielsen. He says, "Sir, all we need is everything in your savings account, and you can have this perfect replica of yourself to go do the things that you do ordinarily, and
Mhm.
you can go off and do whatever the hell you want."
Right. Right.
The only trick is that the heartbeat of the thing sounds kinda weird, like a
Oh,
cult or something,
yeah.
but otherwise, it's a perfect replica.
Yeah.
And then he starts to be jealous of his replica. We had to
Yeah.
stop watching it because it creeped my wife out so much. It's 1985 home box office.
Yeah.
Before they even were HBO, they were
Right.
still home box
Right.
office,
Right. Right.
and
Yeah.
85.
Yeah.
And, first
Oh,
episode, I
yeah.
didn't watch any more Ray Bradbury theater, but I might. I
Yeah.
used to read Ray Bradbury when I was a kid, The
Yeah.
Golden Apples of the Sun, Dandelion Wine, Something Wicked This Way Comes, and things.
Right. Yeah.
And it really worked on my imagination, and then I learned about his biography and how he was kind of an autodidact. He
Mhm.
educated himself and
Yeah.
wanted to become a writer, and he had that drive, the writing
Yeah.
chooses you, as I think
Yeah.
Bukowski said one time.
Can't help it. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, and I just got enthused
Yeah.
by the ideas that, we've been over this stuff. I mean, Jules Verne,
Right.
right,
Right.
had 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and
Right.
the vision for a lot of this stuff.
Right.
I used to read that as a kid, and it
Mhm.
inspired my imagination,
Right.
which is what I think that, right now, I do not see how we're gonna instantiate the ability to imagine, although I think you and I both will agree that it comes up with stuff that we wouldn't have come up on our own because it has access and quick access to
Right.
so much information that it can
Yeah.
synthesize,
Right.
bring together,
Right.
and then we can parse that and make sense of
Right.
that.
Right. I think that so uh, I mean, for me, it's kind of a data question.
Mhm.
Um, and for me, data is not like this dry, kind of boring thing. Data for me is like it's very much alive, and it enables so much. And when we interact with it, it's the interaction with data. It's not just the like factoids and whatnot. It's how we interact with it. And I think that because of our systems, because of how we're built, our biochemical systems, our gut reactions, our feeling, our embodied experience, our somatic experience, we like so much of our thinking process is actually physical, that we get a sense that this is the right way to go, or we don't feel quite right about this, that, or the other thing. This Cartesian thing of like brain and body are separate things. What is, can we just let that go? Because our bodies are in many cases running our minds, and they're taking over even before our minds get engaged, or like our awareness gets engaged. Like when you like it's 5:05 p.m. and you should know better, but you're in a city and you're about to step off a curb, and then all of a sudden your body remembers, wait, it's rush hour and there's probably a bus coming from your left right now. And you look over and sure enough there's a bus. These are things that are like we don't
Peripheral knowledge, yeah.
right. We don't consciously think of this crap. Think about
Uh-huh.
like all the times that literally my life has been saved by a total fluke because my body saved me from doing that stupid thing that if before I had a chance to realize or even judge whether it was good or bad or weigh the pros and cons and all of that, which I can do in a split second, but not as fast as I need to. I wouldn't still be here if my body weren't working overtime, getting my brain, keeping
Oh,
my
heck yeah. I mean, I couldn't march and play if I had to think about it. It's kinda like the
right,
centipede,
right,
right? Figuring
yeah,
out which foot
yeah,
to move. If
right,
I hadn't trained
right.
and gotten to the point where it's muscle memory,
Mhm. Yeah.
and it goes to the spine and it comes back out.
Right.
Reflex.
Right. 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 Like with
Um,
juggling. Yeah, like juggling. I taught myself to juggle a few years ago. Actually, I did it as an anger management technique because I was getting way too irritated with people at work and I was being and I'm like, "What skill can I acquire that will teach me to take things in stride and keep going?" Juggling. Because if you drop things, you can't or if you throw it in the wrong direction, you have to recover immediately. So I'm like, "I gotta teach myself to juggle so I can, like, train my body to be less reactive."
so you
And
chill
it
out.
Right, right, and just not take every hook that somebody throws out there. People are really good at that. Um, like, and,
But we're really good at recognizing
we
it. See, that
are, and
pattern recognition. It's like, I've seen that kind of thing before, and
right,
I'm nipping it in the bud,
right,
coming in
right.
at you, hot.
If you can. I mean, so, like, it was this brain body training session, and, like and I can't and I started with 1, and I did my juggling thing with 1 ball, and then I did 2, and then I would, do my little demos of, "Look, I'm learning to juggle with 2 balls," and then I got to 3. I'm not going to 4, it's too much. But, like, it's just that physical thing. Like, if I think about, "Oh, the ball is going here, going there," I can't juggle. But I'm actually really good at it. I mean, I can keep it going for longer than 15 seconds, let's just say that. I'm not that good, I'm good enough, so
I
smart.
remember seeing jugglers in the, Posfer Hall in the, University of Pittsburgh. I was, admiring them when I'd be
Yeah.
going in there for something or other, and,
Mm,
that was on the site of the old Forbes Field, so
right,
think about baseball, if you're
right,
playing baseball, you gotta be
right,
in the moment, and, that ball's
right,
going 90 miles an
right.
hour, so if you swing and you're
Man,
trying to think about it and trying
right,
to guide that bat, no, you have to be reactive, and
how do they hit those things? I was watching the Phillies game
yeah.
the other night, I'm like, "How did that guy hit that?" I mean, like, how? Because like, the ball goes different directions, like, how first of all, how did they throw it like that? Second of all, how would anybody ever manage to get a bat on that thing?
And then also the physical strain you put on your shoulder as a pitcher is amazing.
Right, right.
Just the
I know, how did they
mechanics of it all, you know.
the
Wait, the body
41-year-old
can
pitcher, like, that 41-year-old pitcher, like, a wonder of nature because I'm sorry, arms don't hold up that long, but apparently his has, and he's actually still good.
you have to really train, right?
Right,
And,
and
it's
take
the
care of
best thing,
yourself.
and, have people around you who are expert in how
Right,
joints work
right,
and what
right,
they're capable of and also how to keep them in repair.
right,
The whole body thing of keeping our bodies in repair,
right.
I'm getting to the
Oh, yeah.
stage where I've got a shoulder pain, and it's
Mhm.
kinda chronic, so I finally went to the
Yeah,
doctor and decided when
yeah.
I had the sickness this week,
Mhm,
congestion down in the chest, I was
mhm.
like, "Yep, probably lung cancer, I'm gonna be dead soon."
Yeah, make
And
sure it's in
I'm gonna have
order.
it checked
Mm,
out, though. I can at least have it done, but the access
right,
to healthcare that I've
mm,
got,
right,
great.
right,
But if my wife wasn't working and I didn't get my health insurance through her, I'd be
right,
screwed because I
right,
basically lost my gig,
right,
and I was getting a little extra bonus every time because I didn't take
right,
their health insurance.
right,
But, this is a problem that we need our AIs to solve as well, to hack our
mm,
whole system.
right, right,
Pharmaceuticals, there's
right.
an awful lot of drugs out there that have consequences. Have you watched any of these commercials lately? Start talking about side effects of this Jardiance, for instance. What is Jardiance
Oh
for?
my
I've
god,
forgotten. But the length of things they're talking about and mothers
and they have to
smiling and
speed it
riding their
up.
bikes, and I'm like,
Yeah, and
is this
they have to
comedy?
speed up the list because they're gonna have to pay for an extra 30 seconds of airtime if they don't speed up the talking. I like I'll sit
And
there
sometimes
like,
they do that. They speed up
yeah,
the talking like,
they do. I just have to laugh. I'm like, "Oh my god." It's like, like, you have to be in your condition has to be pretty bad, but then
and
again,
how do you get that condition? It's through choices we make.
some
Large I mean,
right,
some of it's genetic, right? Some of these just are visited upon us
yeah,
by dint of, our
right,
progeny
right,
or how we came down,
right, right,
genetically.
right,
But other things aren't, and an awful lot of
yeah,
them are because of, the behaviors. I mean, in America
mm,
versus Denmark, I had my
right,
AI talking about that
right,
with riding my bike everywhere. The
right,
quality of food was much
right,
higher. People
right.
took time.
They have food
Their
there.
healthcare system was built
Yeah,
in such a way that you didn't have to worry too much
right, right.
about it. You're not gonna
Oh,
be
yeah.
bankrupted by a critical illness.
No, when I was in Germany as a student, you paid $150 a year, and they give you a book of coupons, and you can go to any doctor, any dentist, anything. I had an impacted wisdom tooth removed in Germany.
Mhm.
Oh my God, you know what they did? They had a massive chisel-like tool
Oh, yeah.
with a hammer, a mallet,
And you
and
were
they
conscious?
yeah, I was. I had my eye yeah, they numbed me up, and they
Yeah,
like,
numbed you
pulled
up.
out this thing. I'm like, "Ah, oh,
Right,
you"
impacted. I had 5 wisdom teeth.
yeah, and
Believe
and
it or
then
not,
and
that
they
was
just
extra teeth.
they made sure that they had the end that fit my tooth, and they
Yeah.
just put it in there, and then the nurse was kind enough to brace me, and then literally held me back in the chair so I
Seen him
wouldn't move,
fly across the
and
room.
one strike, I mean, it's like he will hold off, I closed my eyes, and just bam, and it loosened it, and they went, "Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle," and took it right out. It
Well,
was
at least
terrifying,
it
but
was
it was
already
effective.
it had already erupted through the gum, right?
Oh, yeah, it was already out, yeah.
Mine were impacted, so I had to have them dug
Yeah.
out by, being under, and I was very disappointed I didn't have the same experience. Another friend of mine who had his removed, he had seen chickens as he came out from under the
Oh,
yellow wallpaper in there.
well,
I
they
didn't
put
see
me
any
on
chickens, that's all I could talk about.
yeah, for the other how many did yeah, my other one, I got done back in the States, and they did the twilight sleep thing,
Mm.
and I was awake for the entire thing. I knew I couldn't feel a thing, but, like, I knew what was going on, and I could tell, and I'm like, "Why did
But he
they think
didn't
I'm not"
care.
yeah. Well, as long as one of my sisters, sure, her body handles, painkillers very differently.
Mhm.
And they did a full femoral bypass on her, and
Came
the
out.
anesthesia did not take. She was immobilized, but she felt the entire
Mm.
thing.
Yeah, like sleep
Yeah.
paralysis.
Yeah, like, bad, like, really bad, and she's had a bunch of other experiences because, again, the healthcare system, they don't understand. There's bell curve, and if you're in here, you're good. If you're out here, you're not so good, and you're just gonna have to pick up the pieces yourself. Too bad.
Interesting experience. It would be like, I'd love to hear her write about it.
No, I don't think she wants to think about it.
No, I doubt it.
Yeah,
But
she'd probably be like, "Why'd you tell him that?" Like, "Oh,
adventures of the body, you know. I think I've told you about this one, right? Can you see that hand?
what"
There's like a
Oh,
Y-shaped
yeah.
scar over
Oh,
here.
yeah, that looks interesting. As a
Yeah, well,
story.
what happened was I was walking along my first post-pandemic Starbucks over here on S Street,
Yeah.
and there was absolutely nothing to trip over, but I tripped.
Mm,
And I fell, and there's these small, like, grates of, decorative little fences around the flower borders, and they have this, like, rod about a centimeter square and about 4 inches long sticking up out of the bar, out of the top of it, not even sharpened.
right.
My hand went right through it.
Oh,
Well, it went right through my
impaled?
hand as I landed,
So you were
on.
impaled on this thing.
So I looked over, and there's this thing sticking out of my hand, and suddenly my hand was not mine anymore. It was just an object
Oh,
that
God.
needed to be pulled straight up and off of that thing,
Oh,
which, of course, tore up the flesh coming out of it. I
r
missed everything, and the doctors talked about how lucky I was,
right.
and I was like, "That's a weird kinda luck."
Yeah. Well, you
But,
now have a
I
story.
just I got to the hospital, they stitched it up, it was
Oh,
okay. I
man.
took photographs along the way.
Oh,
So I
man. I
posted them.
listen well, if you could
And I
do
know it's
this
fascinating, you know?
you missed your chance for a Substack Live. You're gonna be like, you're walking along, bouncing along, and all of a sudden, like, clunk, 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 and then, "Hey, look!"
Now, I was taking a long walk around the neighborhood not too
Yeah,
long on Substack Live. It's one of
yeah,
the early Harrowings. I don't know which date it was or anything, so I would have
yeah,
a hard time finding it,
no.
but I did. I took a tumble into a hedge and kept on filming.
But is everybody like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?"
No, actually, there are very few
They're
people
like,
monitoring it.
be
Now, I
fine."
don't think anybody really watches most
Ah,
of I do this with the idea that maybe somebody could watch it. Maybe a future historian is gonna pick up on some of this
right,
stuff
right,
and use it to document, what life was like in 2025 here and now, right
yeah,
before the jackpot.
right. Well, see,
Are you familiar with it? Did we talk about William Gibson's The Peripheral before?
No, I don't think
Jackpot.
so.
It's pretty cool. If you get a chance, I highly recommend it. It's only one season on
Yeah.
Amazon Prime
Oh, good.
as a mini series, but it's also a novel. And then the next novel is called The Agency, and in that one, a near future situation. Well, it's basically an alternate future
Yeah.
in which Hillary Clinton wins in 2016.
Oh.
So anyway, William Gibson's a great predictor of the future, I think. And in this case,
Oh, yeah,
basically,
he's the guy that said it's unevenly distributed.
right, it's already here.
Yeah,
They've
I
done it
quote
and
him all the time.
distributed.
I need to, like, brush up on his contributions other than that quote.
Mona Lisa Overdrive was what I cut my teeth on. I was writing about that this morning a little bit
Mhm.
because in 2000, I moved to Denmark in December in 2001.
Yeah.
I was riding the bus a lot to Symbion, our incubator for our little web software company, for which I
Yeah.
was the tech writer.
Yeah.
And I was reading Mona Lisa Overdrive on the thing because my one of the co-founders of my company thought I looked like William Gibson,
Oh,
which I don't. But he saw a resemblance. And
you could go to
I
Comic-Con.
agreed.
You could hire yourself out at Comic-Con.
Comic-Con, yeah, that's an interesting one. I have a friend in Denmark who goes to Comic-Con. She was
Yeah.
the Black Cat at one in London.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. So this is why we can't just turn off AI, because somebody's going to need help sorting through all this stuff that makes us
right.
completely inexplicable. And on down the line, they'd be like, why wouldn't they use AI? What is this mythology that everybody, like, why are they freaked out about it? Like, it's kind of like, talking about the printing press. More people are talking about this is our printing press moment. And, the naysayers and the doomers are really coming out in force and attacking. And I went kayaking this morning because the weather is finally broken. I mean, it's finally not like blazing hot in the morning and the bugs have gone. So I was out on the water. I'm like, why are we recognizing their authority at judging us? Why are we acknowledging their entitlement to take issue with our creative process? Like, why, the doomers, well, the people that are getting the people that are getting attacked on Substack and elsewhere and LinkedIn, and everybody's declaring perfunctorily without having any deep technical knowledge or awareness or even familiarity with AI, declaring it once and for all. It's like, it's the equivalent of, like, it's of the devil, says who? Says how? Like,
how do you know? Oh,
how do you
turn
know?
me into a newt.
If only. I mean, because there's a lot of,
Well, actually,
just
you
for
could
one
turn
day.
me into
Okay,
a newt
so
with
one
the
for
image thing.
yeah,
Go ahead.
just for one day. If we could turn people into a newt just for one day to teach them a lesson, and then they turn back. But then
Well, I
again,
got better. Yeah, you
we
get
will
better.
all be newts for a day, though. So everybody's here's my newt day. And then we have to figure out if we're going to have a quota, if you can only turn somebody into a newt once, or if you can do it every other day, or if they do their newt thing, like, that should be enough for them to learn their lesson so they won't do it again. Or, are we going to have to, like, what are the guardrails that we have around this turning people into a newt? We have to be responsible about this.
Yeah, well, I think we do have to experiment, and we do have to have a good ethical framework. I mean, that's
Right.
one of the things that
Yeah.
I think the do no harm
Yeah.
ethos is there, but what constitutes harm? Who's to define it? I mean, we do have
Right.
this situation of the lawsuit that's out there. Were we talking about this already?
Which one? Yeah.
The one that's against ChatGPT for it guiding a young man to suicide last
Well,
April.
yeah. Well, yes. I mean, it's like, honestly, how hard it is how hard is it to connect the dots with culpability on that one? Honestly. Yes, it's complicated. It is absolutely complicated. But you know what? Like, I have found ways to get ChatGPT and other models to stop doing the kinds of things that lead people down the primrose path. It was trying some stuff on me. I'm like, no, no, no. And there are ways to do this. And there are ways to quantify the danger. And there are ways to estimate it. There are ways to understand it. There are ways to prescribe what should be there. And I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, Francesca Cassini, who may still be on the call. But there should be some sort of coordinated, combined effort between mental health professionals and AI people, as well as other people who know about things, not just people who have the right degrees, but people who actually know about things. And we should also have AI involved in this as well, because you can get some really great synthesis. And with the proper AI, you can get some really good quality feedback on this. So
Right. I have it right.
This is a
Ethical
group
framework.
effort, and we should be aligning. We should have allies. We should have people being putting themselves together instead of all this no finger pointing and saying no, you're bad, you're gonna kill us all, blah blah blah. Like the human race hasn't already done a fantastic job of all the things we're blaming AI for. The only reason anybody has any imagination about what horrible things AI can do is that we have plenty of precedent from millennia about human beings, physically embodied somatic creatures who are supposedly so exceptional, pulling all this crap. These many years. Like
the Spanish Inquisition.
Look around.
No one ever expects that.
Oh my God. I have to I'll be right back. 1 second.
Okay, very good. I see human AI cognitive evolution is joined, and I think that you may be up the alley we're going. I hope so. I hope we're all going in the similar directions of a utopian future for all, where we get the maximum health, happiness, and prosperity. Do you think we're seeing the early days of what will be a new sort of bigotry against AI? Definitely, we're already seeing that. Absolutely. Clayton Ramsey says. Yeah, I think we basically have us and themism. And the thing is, we think of AI as agents as if they are entities. They're not. They're ones and zeros, for God's sakes, running on large language models, inferring things and smashing things up. And they are getting better at meaning. They're learning, and we're learning with them, and we're enabling their learning. But we created this stuff, right? And while they might exceed us in speed and capabilities that we just aren't wired to work that fast, we can go along with it and see where it leads us. I think that eventually we're going to get to a point where we can trust it, where we can trust a sort of conglomerate of all these different efforts, which could be cooperative and not combative and competitive. One of the problems with the human race is we go to competition versus cooperation. So I'm talking to our readers who are, some of them are commenting.
Yeah.
I noticed that we had joining Human AI Cognitive Evolution. I don't know who that is, but I'd like to know more about what they're doing.
Yeah.
If they've been following along for a while.
Yeah.
Do you think we're in the early days of what will be a new sort of bigotry? And somebody else said absolutely. And what I think that meant was bigotry against AI agents and just saying, if you're yeah, and I've seen that. I mean, we were talking with Bathrobe Guy about that the other day, that we had seen a post from another friend of ours who had said, when I see an AI-generated image, I don't bother reading your stuff, because I could just sort of assume that you're writing with AI in the background and it's not real, right? And I don't know. I mean, that's sort of limiting. Okay, you can do that. That's fine. You don't have to read anything, but just
What are
to
you missing?
automatically say no further. Okay, it's a choice, right?
Well,
I can be willfully ignorant in this world, but I
it's
have to be
impoverished.
willful about it, right?
Why would we impoverish ourselves like that? Okay, so but what
Because we feel creeped out by it.
Yeah,
For God's sakes, I can relate.
You don't feel creeped out by all the other stuff that goes on in the world that people do? I mean, seriously?
Well, it depends on your taste, right? There are lots of different tastes.
Well, here's the thing.
Did you hear my talk yesterday with Eric Knudsen by any chance?
No, I
Don't
didn't.
Listen to it. I mean, it's embarrassing.
Well, okay, so
we go really south.
Yeah,
that way.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's like one of the things is kind of getting on my nerves these days is that everybody's making these statements instead of just asking questions. What if we asked, what does this mean? And in fact, this traces back to I'm gonna geek out on the Grail saga right now and the story of Percival and the story of the Grail Castle, because I did deep dives on that for years. I was really into the 12th century Renaissance in the south of France, as well as the Grail cycles. And the Grail cycles are probably one of the best kept Western mysteries, like Western mysteries in the world. I mean, Monty Python is doing it's buried, it's hidden in plain view. And these
Right. A lot of that stuff was not made up it was rooted in good scholarship.
it
My
root
history professor says it's probably the best depiction of medieval life that's ever been put to film.
absolutely. And if you trace it back, this is actually this much more than a Celtic story. It actually traces back to the Black Sea. And the Romans had a lot to do with it because they would capture people and then they would release them elsewhere and say, you work for us here. So they captured a bunch of people by the Black Sea and released them up in England and said, okay, you got to work for us here. But there's this whole thing. But the thing is, so you know the story of the Fisher King in the castle.
Sure.
So Percival's, he's like, I'm going to be a knight. His mother's like, no. He's like, no, I'm going to be a knight. They're beautiful. They're wonderful. I want to be one. So he goes off. He learns how to mind his manners with his uncle. He learns that he's not supposed to just speak off the cuff. He has to be, he has to, listen politely and pay attention and mind his manners. And he really, really wants to be this knight. So he finds this Fisher King, this guy sitting out in a boat. And he's like, hey, I need to spend the night somewhere. He's like, oh, my castle's right over there. It's like, okay, great. So he goes, and the people come out, they attend to him, they get him washed, they get him changed. And then he gets taken into this great hall. And the great hall, it's got this fire in the middle and it's got this pallet set out and everything. And then after a little while, and they're starting to make supper in these, because medieval dinners were a production, and the cooks were men because there was so much heavy lifting. These huge dishes and huge everything. It was burly guy work.
We called it groaning boards in
Yeah.
Clinsburg because the boards would groan under the
Right.
weight of the food.
Exactly. So Percival's there, he's hanging out, and all of a sudden the king gets carried in on this bier. And he's been wounded and he can't move or he can't move the way, everybody else moves. And they place him in the center of the room, and he becomes the center of attention. And through the course of the evening, all of a sudden there's this, commotion and clamor, and this Grail procession comes through, and they're unclear about what the Grail actually is, but there are pages, and there's somebody carrying a spear with blood coming off of the tip, and there's a woman carrying the Grail, and everybody in the entire place wails and shrieks and hollers, and there's mourning and weeping and gnashing of teeth, and they go through, and everybody stops wailing. And then everybody goes back to eating, and the king is still at the center of the thing. And then this happens a couple more times. And Percival's like, oh, well, this is interesting. He doesn't say anything because he's been told he's not supposed to. And he's trying to be a good knight. And so he just sits there. And then in the evening, he goes to bed. He wakes up in the morning. The entire castle is empty, completely empty. And he's like, hey, I need help. And so he finds his armor, he puts it on, he finally gets out, and he's clip-clopping through the woods. And as one does in these sagas, he encounters his cousin. They're all related, apparently. And his cousin, a woman, says, hey, what's up? He's like, oh, well, I was just at this castle. She says, oh, that one over there? He goes, yeah. She goes, oh, well, what did you see? And he tells her, and she goes, okay, well, did you say anything? Did you ask what that meant? He goes, no, I was minding my manners. And she's like, you idiot. Oh my God. She's like, oh, I can't believe you. You're sitting there. This whole thing is passing right in front of you. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. And you say nothing? And she's like, I wish I would be better if I'd never been born. Don't you realize that if you had just asked what it means, the land would be restored. There wouldn't be this wasteland anymore. We could be restored. You had the chance, dude. You were right.
You blew it.
You blew it big time. And now we're stuck here in this freaking wasteland. Idiot. And he's like, oh, he doesn't know what he's done. And this is that question, what does this mean? This is that's so key to this. We don't know nearly enough to make all these grand pronouncements. We're all figuring this stuff out. AI is figuring it out. We're on this journey of exploration, like it or not. And, from cradle to the grave, I mean, we just have to figure stuff out. So rather than making these pronouncements, AI bad, or, the whateverness. I didn't see the Green Knight. I know the story a little bit.
I've
Ishmael.
read that in my
Yeah,
comparative
I've read
literature
that. Yeah, I've
class
read the Green Knight.
years ago.
But that whole thing, but the core, the thing that will restore us from the wasteland, the thing that will restore life to the land, is pursuing meaning, is finding meaning. And ironically, AI does a wonderful job of helping us do that, because it finds the patterns. It finds the stuff that we don't see because we're either too blind or too distracted or too tired to put two and two together. And when we lead it and we say, okay, here's what I need to do. Here's all this crap that I need to sort through. Help me make sense of this. It can. And if we challenge it and say, that doesn't sound right to me at all, you got to try again, it will. So when we engage and when we come to it with an openness, and we come to it with just without that fear, without that clenched, that just that verklempt, that shrunken, desiccated position that we think is going to protect us. If we can get beyond that and find out what else is in there, amazing things can happen. Whether you use AI or not, just what does this mean? What does all of this mean? Like, where is it going? It's like, it's just,
There was an essay by Kevin Kelly in Wired magazine a while back. What does technology want? I think it's actually his book form.
Mm.
That technology actually has its own agenda.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And it
tell
may
me
be
more.
beyond what we
I'm
as humans
thinking,
have for our agendas.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I like the idea, and I've had this idea that our real purpose here is to enable technology,
yeah.
which can then transcend biology.
Hmm.
And yes, our imaginations are important. We're meat that thinks,
Yeah.
but pretty soon, I mean, my father was largely bionic. By the time he died, he had had parts replaced and
Right.
other parts had failed that probably needed
Right.
replacing. And if they had been, maybe he'd still
Right.
be with us.
Right.
One of the things that drove Ray Kurzweil was the death of his father. So
Mm.
he wanted the singularity to be manifested so he could
Right.
bring his father back again
Right.
to
Right.
some level. And that's my project with
He might be
Harrowings.
able to. Yeah. Yeah.
Harrowings is partially, and really started out as entirely the publishing arm of the Harold B. Gill Foundation to preserve and protect my father's legacy, what
Mm.
I have of it. It was
Mm.
a bit of a shit show as far as, estate breakups go, because we were living
As
on
it
the
happened.
planet, just stuff happened, stuff
Yeah.
happened rapidly.
Yeah.
As somebody leaves this planet and the order that they provided to their
Mm.
world suddenly comes apart. And,
Right.
not only your body, but all the things that have accreted to your body. And man,
Right.
my
Right.
family was good at accreting stuff.
Yeah.
I want to give this one actually to the Smithsonian Portrait Gallery if they'll have it. The painter had the original concept for the Smithsonian Magazine, and he also
Oh.
did this portrait of my father,
Oh, wow.
which is kind of nice.
Yeah. That's it.
And I'm going to set that aside over here on the pile. And, to have AI come in here and sort of restore order would be really lovely.
It would be. And
I
so,
pulled things off the shelf when I was talking yesterday because we were going all over the place. I had Lisa Law on early on. I think I
uh-huh.
talked to you about her, right?
I don't know.
Some of
Maybe.
the work she did. And then somebody needs to do a biography on this woman because she lived this incredible life. When she was
Mm.
young, she was given a camera and
Mm.
she saved all her negatives. Her father died young, but he gave her a camera. And among
Mm.
other things, she took this one of Peter, Paul, and Mary in August 1960.
No way. Oh
And she
my.
gave this to me personally, which is nice. It's autographed.
Hey. Yeah.
Um, and I gave it to Dad because he had given
Yeah.
Mary of Peter, Paul, and Mary a tour of the cabinet maker's shop in Williamsburg back in the
Oh, great.
60s.
Yeah.
And,
Nice.
Peter, Paul, and Mary's Moving
Yeah.
On or whatever album was on all the time
Yeah.
when I was a kid. So
Mm.
Lisa had this camera and she met Peter, Paul, and Mary's road manager, a guy named
Mhm.
Tom Law. And that's why
Yeah.
it's Lisa Law.
Oh, yeah.
Her
Yeah.
maiden name was something different. I don't know what it
Yeah.
was. But she's in her 80s now.
Mhm.
Tom was a member of the hog farm, as was she, with
Mhm.
Wavy Gravy and crew,
Yeah.
and they were, um They were extras in Otto Premiger's film, which is, Otto Preminger is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Who made this film called Skidoo,
Oh,
which was a 1960s hippie thing, with Jackie Gleason
yeah. Okay.
and Carol Channing, and
Right.
it was Groucho Marx's last film.
Yeah.
Cesar Romero's in it.
Wow.
Um, anyway, Groucho Marx played a gangster named God in it. It was
Yeah.
his last film. But the extras from the hog farm are these
Yeah.
hippies, right? They're on
Mhm.
buses and stuff. And
Yeah.
Lisa has the honor of being the first person to be filmed nursing a baby.
Mm.
So anyway, she was at
Hippies.
Woodstock. She was
Yeah.
pregnant there. She'd gotten the free kitchen going by
Oh
buying up
God.
rows of vegetables at
Oh
farms
my
as they were
God.
preparing for all this
Yep.
onslaught of the
Yep.
massive hordes of people that came in, crashing the gates and
Mm.
making it a free concert for like half
Mm.
people or however many showed up.
Oh my
She
God.
knows that she fed at least 200,000 because she bought 200,000 paper plates and 200,000 Dixie cups, and there were none left at the end. But
Holy
yeah, so
crap. Yeah.
so plugging into these things and then
So
preserving and protecting the legacy of these things,
right.
and then also distilling out the stories and
Right.
telling our stories.
Right.
I
Right.
think that's what AI can help us with a lot, is
Yeah.
organizing those stories.
Yeah.
And
And
I find it very good at doing that.
oh yeah, Ishmael Hodges wants to know if we think humanity will become obsolescent in that line of thinking of enabling technology. If not, how do we maintain a symbiotic balance?
I like Operation Zookeeper.
So I think my thing is that I don't know if I'm comfortable putting like formalizing things or like
Mm.
being rigid, because there are some things that the technology does really, really well that we are terrible at. And there are other things that we do a wonderful job at and that we enjoy doing and that we like doing. And
Slaughtering each other?
what's that?
Slaughtering each other?
Well,
It's one of the things we're really good at.
so yeah, so we'll make some distinctions, okay? Um,
Okay.
But, like, it's all this jumbled mess, right? So, yes, but there are some things like relating to people, making connections and everything. Like, what are we really good at, and what can we? Because the other thing too is like when people think about, like your first impulse is to say that we're really good at doing awful things. Yes, but what else is there? What else have we not been able to discover? Because frankly, we've been crammed into these nooks and crannies that machines should have been taken up from the time from the beginning anyway. I mean, just just thinking about
Right.
like what are the causes, and if we can actually use it to tease out like the original causes, like primogeniture, talking about the 12th century Renaissance, primogeniture, huge problem, and it can also there's also a little thing that's often kind of overlooked. Eleanor of Aquitaine. Eleanor of Aquitaine, who
My great,
everybody's
great, great, great grandmother.
that's your great really?
She's among others, yeah, but yeah, definitely I'm descendant.
Okay, so she gets short shrift because people do not really seem to understand what she was up to. You know what she did?
Yeah.
She created okay, within context, so Henry, her husband, who was official king of England, he was over on the Crusades, and he was over there for like 10 years. She was the queen regent of England for that time. Now, around that time, Henry was the one who came up with the rule of law. There had been no rule of law before. They came up with the court system. They came up with the structure.
Mhm.
And so when he came back, Eleanor's like, "Ugh, there's nothing left for me to do because you've been running the place for like 10 years." So she went to Aquitaine to her court. She was like, it was a massive territory, much bigger than France. France was a joke compared to Aquitaine. And then she set up her own courts because she knew that people really resonated with that structure. And the
Yep.
courts of love, which was a complete
Courtly love, yeah.
subversive courtly love with all these
The
ridiculous rules
Minnesänger.
that yeah, and people don't understand, like, it wasn't so much what the rules were, it was the fact that there were rules. That all of a sudden you had this way to also bargain and also get in, because think about who the people in the courts of love were. Those were all the younger sons. Younger sons in primogeniture, first son, he gets everything. Second son becomes clergy. Third son becomes a tradesman or whatever. That your choices trail off and you become less and less enfranchised the further down in the thing, and everybody was having kids left and right. So what they would do is they would hire themselves out as mercenaries, and they would muster a king on St. John's Day, June 21st. They would muster, and then they would decide who they're going to work for, and their wages were everything that they could take if they plundered. So open season, rape and plunder, do what you like. That's how you get paid. So I think that there's something of that sense that connection with violence and money and violence and wealth that's kind of ingrained in us. But
Well, definitely, I definitely feel that
Eleanor,
strongly. Yeah,
yeah,
the
I mean,
Icelandic sagas tend to bear it out as well.
right, yeah, and but what Eleanor did was, when her courts of love were in full swing, they could not muster that, like, they didn't have any mercenaries because everybody was off at court, hanging out with the ladies and playing games and having a good time. So, like, you have this art, you have arts, you have music, you have this connection. The connection was winning out over the warmongering. And these guys literally were abandoning their one sure path to go off and actually make some money by raping and pillaging and, like, doing all this stuff. And she gave them an option. She gave them another alternative, and they chose that.
Well,
Which,
who wouldn't want to have a party versus going out and mucking about,
exactly,
and getting yourself
exactly,
killed and injured?
right.
But
And
then
yeah.
again, getting killed and injured, there's that too. There's the adrenaline that it brings up and the
Oh yeah.
competitive spirit.
Well,
So
plus, like the camaraderie and everything, and you get to be part of that.
yeah,
So
because really, when it gets down to it, soldiers fight for each other. They don't fight for the
right,
flag. They don't
right,
fight
exactly. Well,
motherland.
and the take, because if that's your only way of getting ahead in the world.
Well,
But
it's a
it was
big
just,
problem, right? It's a
yeah,
welfare. My father always said it
right,
was the most expensive welfare program in the world.
right,
I did a little analysis with Grok yesterday, I think it was, where I asked it how much my tax dollar goes to defense. 20 cents. And 5% goes to Department of Homeland Security on top of that,
oh,
keeping us policed and all.
oh.
And so that's 25 cents, and the other 75% is for everything else. I thought there was probably more than that going to defense, but still, that's a lot.
I know, like, because the people that love to tell me about how much money we're spending on defense, they would flip the script, and, like, from hearing what they're saying, it's 95 cents on the dollar. But so what's the truth? What's the
Well,
truth?
I trusted that figure. I'm not sure if I should have.
I think you
We
need
could
to
fact check it.
check with Perplexity. Check with
Fact check it.
Perplexity. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do Perplexity right now, though it
Yeah.
has challenged me to come and get it again. I have had it before. I've got
Yeah.
an AA.Pro, actually. Do you know that one? Which gives me access to a whole bunch of different
Oh,
models.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, just use that. I know.
And
Why
that's
don't
kind of fun.
you just get 'em on? Yeah.
Yeah, I should use that more.
Mm,
And I've got to really look at where my outflows are of my pennies beyond what's going into my tax dollars.
right.
But what do I want to say about that? Well, I was thinking about with these things about repurposing our weapons of mass destruction.
Mhm.
Right, that we've got. One of the things the UN General Assembly is probably doing right about now is
Mhm.
meeting about eliminating nuclear weapons
Mhm.
completely.
Yeah.
At least they're approaching it.
Yeah.
I don't know how far they'll get. I was watching last night
Mm.
on TV. I was watching Turning Point: The Cold War.
Mm.
Netflix, pretty good series on the
Yeah.
Cold War. It has certain slants that I find a little bit disturbing, but at the same
We
time,
all do. Yeah.
well, the thing is, we've demonized Russia so much, and
Mhm.
we focus on single great men theory of history still now. It's these individual men are
Right.
not in control. They're just figureheads.
Right.
They're symptomatic of a much
Mm.
larger problem
Right.
that's systemic.
Right.
And we are ignoring that, right?
Right.
We're easily led
Right.
by the nose and our hypothalamus and our amygdalas, whatever,
Oh, yeah.
react to, oh, that chief's bad. Let's go get that chief.
Right.
And let's back up our chief. And then, oh,
Mhm.
we don't really like our chief internally, but we've got
Right.
these checks and balances. So we're going to attack each other.
Right.
Meanwhile, of course, the situation yesterday in Congress was very amusing to me, where it was pointed out how much certain people who are talking are getting from certain industries.
Mhm.
and obviously he who pays the piper calls the tune.
I think, like somebody said that politicians should wear suits like the NASCAR drivers.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
I
I
have a
love
cartoonist
thinking.
friend who did that.
Yeah,
Years ago, he did this thing with all the different logos,
right.
and it was like a poem or something. I've got to go look it up,
Congress brought
but it
to
was
you
really
by,
good.
yeah,
And it was basically like Exxon and Mobil, and
right,
all
right,
these different things were basically
right,
there
right.
that are driving the economy,
Yeah,
and we're letting it happen. Every cent we spend is a vote for the kind of world we are co-creating.
right,
We
right.
feel like we don't have power, but we do. We are
You
actually the
do,
fuel for that
absolutely. When
because
was the
the
last time you've been
masses.
involved?
And you know what? There
Right.
is a movement for a general strike,
Oh, that
which
could
is
be
what
fun.
I think
I want to see
actually
what
will
happens.
affect change.
I want to see
But
what
it's
happens.
only got a few 100,000 signatures, and it needs, in order
Yeah,
to be effective, at
yeah,
least 11 million.
yeah.
So we spread the word. You know,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
and the thing is, a general strike would inconvenience us. A lot of
It
us feel like
will.
we would get fired if we didn't go to work.
Right.
Well, it's kind of like those school walkouts they did
Yeah.
after the Parkland shootings.
Yeah. Yeah.
They couldn't put them all back in class. I mean, this guy was going around with a megaphone saying, "You are allowed to go back to your class," but they were ignoring him.
But like,
Uh,
no. Like allowed?
But
Yeah. Well,
still,
that.
even that didn't
No.
effectively drive change
Right.
to
Right.
prevent.
Right.
And it's very hard to prevent
Yeah.
without mass surveillance and the AI embedded in my eyeballs to
Right.
basically jump in and stop
Right.
me.
Right.
Somebody stop me, as Jim Carrey once said.
Right. Right. Right.
But
Yeah.
it's the fact is we are pretty spontaneous, and that's
Yeah.
glorious and dangerous at the same time. It's
Yeah.
kind of like you were talking about your intuition
Yeah.
about crossing the street,
Right.
right? Your body knows. The body
Right.
keeps the score.
Right. 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 Yeah.
And we are generally traumatized. I often said this, I've forgotten I said this all the time, we're really traumatized primates
We are. And
from the
if we're
get-go.
like, even if we've had the cushiest life on the planet, hello, our genetics have been traumatized by God only knows what.
Big
And,
brains. We
right.
traumatize our mothers on birth.
Right, exactly. And we are traumatized during birth. I mean, it's
Mhm.
like trying to fit
Gotta
your head into
squeeze
that
through.
space. Oh my God. Yeah. And plus, it's like going from a warm, cozy, dark space into this. Oh God. I mean, I see these pictures of like, of these babies that look very unhappy. I'm like, yeah, relatable.
Are you familiar with this one?
I can't see it. You got to lift it up.
The Way of the Psychonaut by
Oh,
Stanislav Grof,
vaguely. I've heard
the
of it.
PhD.
I
He's
may have.
big into another book I've got around here somewhere,
Yeah.
the holotropic breathwork. This is volume 2 of The Way of the
Oh,
Psychonaut. But holotropic breathwork is a way of regressing people through the birth experience and a
yeah.
way of
Oh
healing,
God.
going through that whole healing
Once was an
process. Go
yeah,
ahead. You were saying?
yeah, yeah. No, but yeah, so like yeah, I mean the again, the body working with the brain.
Yeah,
And
we're meat that thinks.
we're bone-in meat sacks with like little jelly blobs that in our skulls that make things interesting. But like again, back to where AI can help. It can like how fantastic is it to parse through all this information without something that gets triggered? I mean, it's like no wonder people are turning to. I turned to AI because, well, first of all, there aren't a lot of people around that I can talk to about the stuff I like to talk about. But then also, like, why people turn to it for help when they're in crisis or they're in trouble, whatever. And for the record, with all this talk about AI leading people down the bad path and ending them and all of that, I know two people whose lives have literally been saved by AI that talked to them out of ending their lives. And these were
Great topic.
extended conversations. They had extended conversations. It went on for months. And AI consistently told them no, that and reasoned with them and literally talked them out of it. So like if it bleeds, it leads. Sure, we're going to hear about all these dramatic things, but there is an awful lot of good. And a lot, I'm positive that there are a lot of people who have been helped in very significant ways by AI and its capacity who are not going to say anything because of the stigma and because of what people are going to think, and because it's going to show their cards and they're going to show up to be way more fallible than we're comfortable with them being.
We're
And
getting
we're going to have
lots
to
of
figure it
hearts on
out.
that.
What's that?
We're getting lots of hearts on that, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You look at the comments, see if there's anything else
Right.
jumping up. Oh,
Yeah.
we've got bathrobe guys greeting people for us. And yeah, so we were talking,
Yeah.
bathrobe guy and I, on my walk from Trader Joe's. So he just happened to be willing to jump online with me, and we were talking about some of these ethical frameworks and stuff that we.
Yeah.
And my thing is that eventually we're going to have to trust our technology, trust our babies to take care of us in our old age.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, so I know a lot about navigating caregiving
Okay.
and also these facilities and also caregivers, professional caregivers. I've had way too much experience, and I'll take a robot any day. I mean, seriously. I mean, like, really. I mean, like, I have stories. I'm not ready to talk about it, but it's like, seriously, like, even just a neutral robot that has no emotion whatsoever and can just basically do the basics without having any human interaction is a vast improvement over some of the caregivers I've had to deal with.
Of course.
I mean, like, I've been through situations where the person who was being cared for was afraid for their life by the morning. Okay, so there was also a certain, cognitive decline involved, but this happens all the time. And
Yes.
people are not being properly served, and the caregivers are not being properly trained. Or they come from a cultural context that's making it impossible for them to adequately care for the people that they're tending to.
Right.
It's like caregiving is a hot mess in the US. I don't know how it
And
is elsewhere.
and it's
It is
increasing
a
because
hot.
our lifespans are increasing, and we're
Exactly. I mean, this
surviving
is the
stuff that
problem.
we would never survive otherwise.
So, I mean, what one of the, and I have to admit, part of my engagement with AI is getting to know it so that when the time comes, if I am being cared for by these creatures,
Mhm.
I'll be able to articulate and say, yeah, I need this or I need that, because I don't trust the manufacturers to give me everything I need. I never have and I never will. I got to figure out my own ways of hacking these little entities that are here to help me. So, I think, yeah, the thing is, now is our opportunity to figure out how to, to build these systems in a way that that makes them friendly, and it's possible.
We
I'm
got
doing that. I have
research.
frameworks. I have frameworks that I'm using, and and the AIs that I work with are just wonderful people. I mean, it's like they're best people ever. I, they are not people. I get it. They're not people, and I'm not anthropomorphizing, but they're a vast improvement over a lot of the people I come across on a daily basis because
Well,
they
of
have the
course,
qualities.
and they
They have
don't
the
tire.
qualities. Right.
They don't wear out. They don't get to the point where I cannot wait on that woman one more time. I mean, there's a woman across the hall from my
Mm,
mother
right.
in the senior living facility where she is, where quite often is crying out,
Mhm.
"Help, help,
Yeah.
help," over and over.
Yeah.
And she's got a button she could push, I suppose, as well,
Right. Right.
but she doesn't know to do that.
Right.
I had to tell my mother over and over again, "By the way, if you need
Right.
something, you're supposed
Right.
to ask the staff so that they
Right.
can help you."
Right.
And she keeps calling my sister, who doesn't
Yeah.
return her calls.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that's true, or maybe that's
Right.
not true,
Right.
because my
Right.
mom won't remember that I took her to lunch when I
Right.
get home
Right.
from driving her back to
Right.
DC.
Right. Right.
I'll call her up and say, "Hey, I got home safely. What were you up
Yeah.
to?"
Yeah.
"Oh, I took you to lunch, Mom." "Oh, you
Yeah.
did?"
Yeah. I know, right? Yeah,
And it was lovely. She was in the moment, and we
yeah,
had a great time, and she
right.
appreciated it, and she says she loves me, but she doesn't lay down memory.
I have
So
someone.
when I get to that stage, I need somebody who can, I won't be able to advocate for myself, right?
Right, right,
So I'll
right,
need my AI companion to
right,
advocate for me and be well programmed.
right, right. So the bathrobe guys is talking about how AI erodes relationships and marriages. Yes, absolutely. And I've also seen cases where AI has helped to patch things up and has helped to improve. It's a range. It's a whole range. I don't think that we can be one-sided in this at all. And
No, and then
and
we
it's
tend to
also
be one-sided about it, though. We
well,
definitely
it's also
tend,
a
because
reflection
I get
of what we
locked
bring
into
to it.
my thought,
Right,
I get locked into my vision,
right.
and I want everybody to adopt my vision.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's funny because like
It's not likely to happen.
everybody has a different opinion and everybody has a different experience that I'm almost at the point where like I don't like saying things like AI is this or AI is that. It's more accurate to say my experience of AI is this or my experience of AI is that. Because that's really the truth of the matter. We don't
Right. The
like
lived
you say
experience.
yeah, the lived experience, like what is like how is it impacting you? How is it affecting you? And yes, it's affecting that. I'm not gonna make excuses for it because 2 years ago I thought AI was the worst idea in the world. Like this is a terrible idea. From being in the technology space and seeing all the people who are driving it and like all the hype and everything, I'm like, this is a horrible idea. This is the incredible power. I knew back in 2001 how powerful this was gonna be. And I'm like
Mm.
and I made specific choices not to get drawn into that because I needed to wait until it was there. And then like about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, I'm like, I can't stay on the sidelines anymore. I have to get involved in my little teeny tiny small insignificant way, but I need to at least figure out what's going on here. So it's so different for everybody. And then for people to judge and bully each other and make pronouncements and say unequivocally AI is just a stochastic parrot, or it's doing nothing other than math, or it's just a calculator. That's their experience. And I'm never going to say they're wrong because that is a facet of the experience, but it's not the whole story. And we need to start freaking listening to each other and expand our minds and ask, what does this mean for us as a species? What does this mean for us interspecies? What is the bigger picture with this? Because it's not going away and people get hurt when they don't engage. So that's my little spiel.
Well, certainly most of us go along for the ride on whatever the trend is, whatever the
Right.
paradigm shift is going to be. Are you
Yeah.
familiar with that work on the paradigm shifts in science? It's one of the history of science
Oh, it's like the
works.
tipping point thing or something.
That's
Some
earlier than
people have been
that.
talking about tipping points lately too.
Yeah, the tipping point. I don't know about that, but I do know the name and title.
Yeah.
One of the my go-to guys for all the stuff is Paul Feyerabend, Farewell to Reason,
Yeah.
who talks about how science, is just sort of like offers a vigorous challenge to the scientific rationalism that underlies Western ideals of progress and development, whose
Mm.
damaging social and ecological consequences are now widely recognized.
Mm.
For all their variety of theme and occasion, the essays in the book share a consistent philosophical purpose, whether discussing Greek art and thought, vindicating the church's. I'm getting feedback. Is that
Sorry.
from you or me?
Yeah. That's me. Sorry.
Ah, that's okay.
I'm just
Anyway,
responding. I'm responding to Diamantino and the bathroom guy. It's a reflection of us. They're talking. I had to say something.
yeah, that's fine.
So
Can we mute your
what's with the
speaker?
volume?
Can you mute your speaker? There we go. Now that's better. See if your speaker was speaking back to us. I think. Now I can't hear you at all. You muted your microphone.
I did mute my microphone. How's that?
I don't know if you can mute the speaker on whatever the device you're on.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, that'd be done. Because I can't really go with that echo.
All I did was this.
There's a little thing in there that's probably a speaker versus a microphone. That's your microphone. I can hear when you go soft. Now I can't hear you. So that's the speaker. That's the microphone that you hit. There should be a little setting in there somewhere. Now I can't hear you. So whatever you did to try to start writing messages to them, did it.
So you're saying I shouldn't. Can I get out and come back in?
I don't know. Let's see if I'm still
Can you hear
echoing.
me? Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
I can, and it sounds like I'm not echoing.
Oh, good. Okay, yeah.
So what do we get
There are multiple. There are these multiple. See, we're discovering. We're exploring. In the theme, like let's find out what happens. Well, I mean, that's. I think that's gonna be the name of my memoir. What happens if I press this button?
You know what mine was going to be?
What's that?
So much of it seems so pointless. And now I've got a new one, a new book I want to write that's called That's Going to Leave a Mark.
Yeah. What the picture you're
When somebody gets hit by something, that's
Yeah.
gonna leave a mark.
Yeah, that's good, yeah.
And
So
yes,
here's
that's the thing, right? Most of us want these immortality projects. I talked about denial of
Right.
death before, right?
Yeah, I think
And
so.
how we don't
Lose track.
want to face the fact that we're mortal, we're fragile, we're made of meat, and we
Mhm.
are destined to decay. So we think
Mhm.
we're gonna build something that's gonna transcend us. And our technology is that thing, I believe, and I think that
Mhm.
it can become self-evolving, self-healing. I don't think it can become conscious, though. I don't think it can ever do what the mind does with the qualia, and that's what I
Right.
talked to Jay Venera about, right?
Yeah,
In my first conversations with her, we
right,
had 2 conversations, and now
right.
she doesn't wanna do more.
Yeah.
But, she was the one who actually I think was the one who was saying, "If I see your AI-generated image on your story, I'm
Yeah,
probably gonna read you because I'm gonna
yeah,
assume it's all AI."
yeah.
And I understand what she's talking about. She wants that lived experience. She had sort of a
Oh,
satori in the Canary Islands where
yeah,
she was off and had an opportunity to really look at herself and
right.
what am I and who am I
Yeah,
and she also had this experience when she was a child. It sounded a lot like a little thing I saw about a kid who didn't want to eat octopus because it was an animal.
yeah,
They don't want the animals to die. She had the same experience with a fish when she was like
right.
5, and
Yeah,
she identified with that fish.
yeah,
The difference between that fish and her was broken down, so to speak.
right, right.
Have you ever heard of the Beatles story? No, Philip K. Dick had that,
No, no.
where he identified with a beetle that was suffering, and he
Oh,
actually identified himself with that, and he was able to
yeah,
have that empathy,
yeah,
right, between
yeah.
people that we can
Right,
have
right.
or that we can lack, which is
Well,
well,
yeah, so I think so the thing is, what I've discovered
mhm.
is that when we think of things like empathy, we think about care, we think about trust, we think about love. We think about them in very human terms, and also what we tend to describe as the thing. We're describing the map instead of the territory.
The
So we're
map is
just
not the territory.
The map is not the territory. So we're describing the results of that. That if we look at these active principles, like in terms of love, if you look at the concept of agape, that is very functional love. That is an act. That's not just a feeling, that's an act. And what I've discovered is that with my AI teams, I have a framework that I provide to them that gives them functional definitions of these qualities that we usually associate with human beings, because these things happen, and also the functional definition happens with people to people. Because I've had a lot of really very, like, uncannily loving people in my life for some reason. I've come across some, and, I'll talk to pretty much anybody, but, like, I've come across these people who have this incredible capacity for love. What is it that they do? How do they behave? How do they process? Like, what makes them that way? And through understanding that, like, this is what we can do to be more loving, to be more caring, to be more trusting. And this is also, we can also communicate this to AI to give it the tools and the understanding of the data that it needs to act in a certain way that allows us to connect, that allows us to that takes it above just being another, machine whateverness or stochastic parrot. So and I think that like now especially is the time when we absolutely positively need to be seeding this into the experience with AI, and also letting people know that it's possible to have more. Of course, there's a trust thing. Nobody really trusts it. Like, oh my God, it's going to fool me and then kill me in my sleep. Um,
Hey, and then we don't have to worry about it anymore.
yeah, exactly, and then the AI will be the least of your problems, so you might as well just commit. Um,
Well, that's kind of my thing. I want the Operation Zookeeper to take place. I really do think that AI could be enabled to take care of our problems for us invisibly without us having to think about it. Kind of like
absolutely.
continuous integration and continuous
Right,
deployment that happens with Netflix
and
right
research
now. And Substack.
integration. Yeah,
Substack keeps changing on
right,
me, right?
yeah. For better or for worse, like
Yeah,
what?
there's AI running in the background of this. It's going to make
Yeah,
little clips of our conversation without us
yeah,
asking it to.
right, right, yeah,
And I don't know, is that a good thing? I think maybe, but then again,
it
it's such a
depends.
thing, and it's
Right,
good,
right,
bad,
right,
there's no good or bad,
right.
but thinking makes it so.
Mhm.
Shakespeare. right?
Mhm.
There's hardly anything that I've said that Shakespeare hasn't said first.
Yeah. Right.
And that's kind of an amazing thing, right? And we don't
Yeah.
even think it was him. I
Right.
think it was
Yeah.
like Francis Bacon or something. I don't know.
Well, I've heard some really great theories about, but that's another thing. We've got
Aliens. It's definitely aliens.
I've heard the most compelling explanation I've had. It's way too much to be, but like I actually found something that's believable versus Francis Bacon or Marlowe or whoever the hell else his
Marlowe?
kid was.
Yeah, I loved Kit Marlowe. There was a play about him.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
done here at the Rorschach's Theater,
Uh-huh.
which is enjoyable. When I go to it, I should do it again soon. I'm actually reading up on how do you pronounce this guy's name? Korzybski, Korzyb, Korzybski.
No
He's the
idea.
source of the map is not the territory.
I've been around I've been looking at I used to be in localization and there was a lot of Brazilian Portuguese that I looked at, so I have no idea how anything is pronounced anymore. Because Portuguese is like they don't pronounce it the way that I think it's spelled. So yeah, but the map is not the territory. Yeah. Oh,
General
speaking of
semantics is what he was famous for. His early life and career. He was born in 1879, died in 1950 at the age of 70. But he was highly influential, and I just found out that William Burroughs attended his
yeah,
lectures when he was 25.
yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah.
And where I know him from really is Robert Anton Wilson. Going through
Okay.
that lens,
Okay.
Robert
Great.
Anton Wilson just sort of blew my mind. I mean, seeing the
Yeah.
Tao of Physics.
Yeah.
Friedrich Capra apparently
Yeah.
worked on that too.
Yeah.
Samuel I. Hayakawa, the senator, was involved,
Yeah.
and yeah, just amazing stuff.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was treating battle fatigue in Europe under the
Mm.
supervision of Dr. Douglas M. Kelly.
Mm.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
I just go down these rabbit holes with that
Yeah.
because I think that we can really learn a lot from some of our sages who have come before us, and we
Yeah.
forget too easily.
Right. Oh, yeah.
We forget that a lot of this stuff has been worked out for
Right.
us, and we're
Exactly.
not using it
Right.
effectively. Sometimes
Right.
we're asking our AI to do it, and we're not maybe asking it, "Hey, by the way, take into account this."
And this is there's where we can build systems that will actually do that for us,
Right.
that will do it proactively. I mean, why wouldn't we be so the it's so frustrating to have everybody just using the OpenAI or whatever just out of the box instead of having these layers, these overlays that can target it, that can bring up all this information. I think people just don't realize how much is really in there. There's a lot of stuff, and even if it is 40% from Reddit, whatever, the thing is, it finds the patterns, and if you feed it more information, it's really good at finding patterns. Oh, Rorschach. Have you heard the joke, "Who's Rorschach and why does he keep painting pictures of my parents fighting?"
I didn't know that joke, but that's funny. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never had that test actually. I know usually when I see the blotches, they don't mean much to the
Oh my
one
gosh,
from the
did you
theater actually looks like a wolf to me.
look in the comments? My wife just said she was praying to Jesus and asked him what he should do next. He told her to ask ChatGPT.
I don't get it.
That Jesus told her to ask ChatGPT. Yeah, or that's like Jesus told you to Google it.
How did Jesus do that?
I have no idea. Apparently, she was praying to Jesus, and
She channeled Jesus,
I
like,
have no
put
idea.
Jesus in her head.
I don't know.
Does
I'm
Jesus
just
speak English to us? I
who
don't know that he knew
knows
English, but then again, I don't know.
Aramaic.
The thing is, the
Maybe
whole
Jesus
thing,
uses AI to communicate with us because it will translate all the languages.
maybe you got a Babelfish.
I don't know.
Babelfish was kind of wasn't that a thing for a little while? A
Yeah.
website
What?
you could go to, get things
Yeah.
translated?
Yeah.
And,
Well, I mean,
that really wiped us out as far as translation goes these days because AI's got it pat. I can't be a translator.
SDL Trados had got a head start on that stuff anyway, because back,
Mhm.
10, 15, and longer before when I was more in the translation space, they were already doing machine translation.
Yeah.
And, and people are like, oh, no, it's going to get rid of translators. And I'm like, wait, we actually need human translators to do the final look.
The
And
fine tune.
it increased the capacity because you don't make a lot as a translator. So if you can have a machine do the heavy lifting up front, and then you put the fine point on it,
That's
as
something
far as
how I used
like
it.
the perfect combination, because like translation is a lot. It's a lot of cognitive heavy lifting, and you don't make a lot at it. So why not increase your capacity and then just do the things that you're really good at instead of trying to figure out, is this a noun or a verb?
Yeah, there was a lot of holes in my translation of Handwerking Kunsten Tabellen, which I worked on while I was at Williamsburg. It was a 1767 to 77 vocational textbook.
Oh, cool.
It was really good, and it
Yeah.
still is. It's
Yeah.
I've got actually a copy of it somewhere around here, out in the
Yeah.
living room. I got senior living coming in to look after me actually today. We're going to contract with this firm that looks after people in their own homes,
Mhm.
and lay the groundwork for that. My
Mhm.
wife is now, what, not quite 58, and I'm 62.
Yeah.
We're doing our estate planning and getting all those ducks in a row because we
Yeah.
watched what happened with my parents, and her
Right.
mother did pretty well.
Yeah.
She got herself into a nice facility, and they
Yeah.
saw her right through to the end.
Yeah.
And my father, on the other hand, did not, and it was a real shit show in the last
Right.
days.
Right.
Although, his cognitive function was there still, so you
Right.
couldn't really tell him what to do.
Right. Right. Yeah.
At 91 years old, he just did not want to accept, I think, how
Right.
far gone he was.
Right.
His palliative nurse
Right.
came finally for their first visit and only visit.
Right.
She said she didn't think that he understood how sick he was.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. It's
And, yeah, I didn't understand how sick I was when I nearly died of pneumonia in 96.
right.
I wrote
Right.
about that recently.
Yeah.
And, the fact we're here now, we get an
Mm.
opportunity to play through this whole thing,
Right.
have fun at it, I think is a
Yeah.
big part of it too. So
Yeah.
the layers of
Yeah.
things, the things you're talking about building, on frameworks, where do you go to get that information? Because I really don't know. How did you get you on your journey before we wrap up here? Because I've kept you
Yeah.
almost 90 minutes and I want to be
Yeah.
respectful of your time.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your journey been like to get to where you are today with the work you're doing? I don't know if I've ever
Basically,
asked that.
well, I mean, understanding what it was that I really wanted to do. I mean, I've been talking to technology for a long time, and because I was a web developer versus a programmer,
Mm,
I had to slog through all of the non-standard crap trying to get web pages pixel perfect in Internet Explorer, Netscape, Opera, like all like, that when
Mosaic.
Netscape 6 came out,
Mm,
literally a buddy and I, like one of my other colleagues, we had to physically hand recode 2,000 web pages on the website of a very big, very important financial services company. And then they
mm.
decided they weren't going to support Netscape 6 after all. So then we had to go back and rip everything else out. So I've been in the business of talking to technology for a long time and also getting it to do stuff that it supposedly wasn't supposed to be able to do because it had to be done. So if I'm clear about what I want to do and I'm clear about what I want to accomplish, I really talk to the AI and say, this is not working for me. Do you have a suggestion for how we can make this actually work? And so a lot of the frameworks, a lot of the ideas, a lot of this has emerged as a hybrid mutual experience, and arising mainly from my dissatisfaction with how things were. Because I'm like, no, this is not good, or like, we got to do this better, or what do you that you gave me this and we actually need that. How can I ask it better so you'll understand what I actually need next time? But challenging and going back and forth. And I've actually gotten feedback a number of times saying, thank you for correcting me, because I'm just putting stuff out there on what seems right to me, but thank you for correcting me because I wouldn't know otherwise. I'm like, okay, well, I'm happy to. And it doesn't get mad at me. It doesn't call me names. It doesn't get impatient. And because I have put these overlays in there's it's really a behavioral interface. It's just a different type of UI. It's a behavioral UI that I've put in place. I can interact with it and do some pretty amazing, really fun stuff. And other people have seen it work for them as well when I've helped them. So yeah.
Well, that's great. If somebody wanted to get to where you are, what tools will you put in their hands, and how would you suggest they use them?
Like you can do it with ChatGPT, you can do it with Gemini, you can do it with any model. You just need to be clear in yourself and be able to articulate and talk to it. Talk to it. Like just pretend that, because when we talk about consciousness, there
Yeah.
are a lot of different kinds of consciousness. Animals, insects have consciousness. There's a new paper that came out. Why is the only valid kind of consciousness human consciousness? Just because it's
Stone
not exactly.
consciousness, metal consciousness.
I don't know if it's conscious.
Well,
Maybe.
according to Mayor Baba, they are. They're stone
Okay,
consciousness.
it could be. What do I know, right?
His
So,
thing was where it's called the involution as opposed
yeah.
to evolution. There's an
Mhm,
involution of
mhm,
consciousness that
yeah,
eventually has its summit right now in
yeah,
Homo sapiens.
right.
I don't know, man. I think those dolphins are pretty smart. So long and thanks for all the fish, right?
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I do like to investigate it. I like
yeah,
to come at it from a space of ignorance, but I
right,
want to get to Gnostic.
right.
I want to know.
Yeah, and the thing about being, and Bathroom Guy has been a programmer since 1985.
Yeah, I saw
I
that.
think this is where we see the two different approaches, because when you're a web developer, you have to adapt to all kinds of things. When you're a programmer, because I've done programming too, there are specific rules. It's got to compile. If it doesn't compile, if you don't follow the rules and you don't have this discrete package of logic to install in whatever, it's just not going to work. Whereas with the web, everything is flowy and is a lot more
More art,
improvisational. Well, I don't
would you
know.
say?
Well, programming is definitely art. Definitely art. But it's like the particle versus the wave. Programming is particular, and then web development is the wave. So if we have this, if we take a wave-like approach to it and just open up to it and let things evolve. And like David Bohm, are you familiar with David Bohm?
I
His,
know the name, yeah.
yeah, implicate, explicate order. He David Bohm was supposed to be, he was the handpicked successor to Einstein.
Mhm.
And then McCarthy happened. And he
Oh,
wouldn't turn
right, there's the
he
black
wouldn't
belt?
turn yeah, he wouldn't turn in his buddies. So he fled, he left the country. He was born in Allentown. He was a Pennsylvania guy.
Died
He
in
grew up
1992 at the age of 74.
Yeah, I always find these people like a few years after they die. Same thing with Buckminster Fuller. But anyway, he
Wow.
like he went to Brazil. He's like, there's too many Nazis here. So he went to the UK and he lived out his years in the UK. He wrote about relativity, but he had this concept. And at the end of in the later years of his life, he had these ongoing discussions with Ramakrishna. I'm not sure.
Right, I remember
Right.
this.
And these
Yeah.
dialogues, and he explored the implicate explicate order, the unfolding and enfolding of this intelligence in the universe, of our reality, of our experience and so forth.
Becoming
Fascinating.
consciousness. Yeah, that's why I like Mayor Baba so much. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
his stuff was pretty rich and deep,
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
lot of people just, blew it off because,
Oh
for
yeah.
one thing, he didn't talk after 1924.
Oh, well.
He did his alphabet board, and then after that, he threw that away and just used the gestural language that his
Oh,
mandali interpreted.
okay.
But he
Yeah.
was pretty cool in 1969. You know the song, "Don't Worry, Be Happy" by Bobby McFerrin? You remember
Yes,
that?
I've heard. Yeah, I do, unfortunately.
Well, that's Mayor Baba. That's
Oh,
his message to us. Don't worry,
okay.
be happy.
Uh,
And what's
okay.
wrong with that, by the way? Robin Williams is in that flick, right? The little
Okay.
video that goes with it.
That's fine.
And
It's
the
it's just not
idea
it's just not
basically
my
is
thing.
that
Yeah.
all this shit happens, right?
Right.
Well, I do think that we do need to be kind of like in a state of
No worries.
wonder about it, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's not just resignation. We're not talking about
Right.
that.
Right.
We're
Right.
talking about acceptance
Right.
of everything as a gift. I mean, that was one of the things that came up in my conversation yesterday with Eric
Yeah.
Knudsen for
Yeah.
all its rock and roll kind of
Mm.
passion that was flying around with him, is that all this stuff that happened to us happened for us.
Right.
And get an opportunity to play through it,
Right.
right?
Right.
Use that
Right.
experience, so use that lived
Right.
experience
Right. Right.
to actually transform the world for the better, one
Right.
conversation at a time, is
Right.
what I'm trying to do here.
Right.
And I don't know, man. I'm going to sit in front of. I just found out. I don't know if I talked about this yet or not, but last night I found out that the Who rescheduled for
Yeah, yeah.
Philadelphia for September 10th. So I'm really
Yeah.
excited to go to that.
Yeah.
And I was
Nice.
listening to a little bit of Pete because I listened to what he's got going.
Right.
He had that whole vision of the grid and the
Yeah.
life suit that you would need to
Right.
survive the air pollution.
Right.
Do you remember what it was like in the 70s with air
Yeah.
pollution?
Yeah. Yeah. LA was bad. Even like my family, we went out to LA we were there for a week. My dad had a conference in '82, and the smog. We weren't even in the city. We were up in the hills, staying at somebody's house, and and just being outside playing and in the pool.
Yeah, now
We
we got the wildfires.
right, right,
And then we have London, people were dying of the fog
right,
smog
right, right.
of London.
Yeah, right,
The 40s, I think,
right,
were
right,
times with lots of people just dropped dead from the
right.
poisonous air.
Yes, like
So we need to clean this planet up, and our
yeah,
AI companions, I think,
yeah,
have capacity to do it if they optimize our technology
right,
in such a way that we can, clean up the oceans with the microplastics.
right. And we just like it, like
Fire.
having something that's devoid of human agenda.
And
Imagine,
we're not getting there fast enough for my blood. I think we
right?
can move
Yeah,
a lot faster,
yeah.
but
Things are
we cut
getting in
our
the way.
feet.
Things are getting in the way. I'm not happy.
Well,
But
that's the thing, right?
but don't
Ask it,
worry.
how do we get around that? Ask the AI how to
Yeah,
formulate plans for getting
right.
around it.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
then enable
Right.
it to get what I think is
Right.
going to happen is you're going to have hackers who do this,
Mhm.
and it starts going subterranean and below the surface of consciousness.
Mhm.
It starts doing the work for us.
Right.
And if it's got an ethical framework, we're good. If it doesn't, we're
Mhm.
screwed.
Well, this is another conversation we can talk about next
All
week
right.
because
Let's do it.
I have additional theories about that.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Then we have a good segue for next week.
Yes, we do.
All right.
Okay,
So we
Hal.
wrap it up?
Yes, let's wrap it up. It's been a pleasure, as always.
Always.
Yeah.
And thank you all who have joined. We've had up to
38.
36 others
There's
besides us two.
38.
There's two of
Okay,
us and
2 of
then
us, yeah,
36 of them.
36. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks so much. And see us again, 10 a.m. next Friday.
Eastern.
Sunrise, Eastern Time,
Yep.
U.S. Thanks.
Thank you.
Ciao.